LaNisa Williams. How are you?
I'm good.
Barista Life.
Yes.
Didn't bring me a hat. That's
did.
all right.
I'll make sure you get a hat, a
Yes.
T-shirt, and when we
Okay.
drop beans, we'll make sure you guys get the beans.
Excellent.
Oh, yeah.
Excellent. I'll be looking forward to that.
Yes.
We're going to start with a little icebreaker,
Cool.
not tarot card, but interview questions.
All right.
I'm going to ask you to pick 1, 2, or 3.
Let's go with 2.
What are you superstitious about?
Ooh.
LaNisa Williams.
I don't think I'm superstitious.
No?
No.
Okay.
Like, I don't believe, like, step on a crack, break your mama back. Like, none of that.
Do you cross your fingers?
Nah.
No?
Like,
You walk under ladders?
I do.
You do?
Yeah. Do you think
I've
about it when
broken
you
mirrors. I've seen black cats. Like, I'm not, like.
You don't throw salt over your shoulder?
No.
do? I do all that just
Mm-mm.
weirdly. Like,
Do you do the salt, hon?
I don't. I don't believe in it, but I do it. Isn't that weird?
That is interesting.
Yeah,
So
I
maybe
did-
you
I
do
did-
believe in it
I didn't grow
maybe.
up with.
with superstition.
No.
Yeah.
I always say just in case.
Yeah.
Right? You can't
Yeah.
be too sure.
Well, that is interesting. If you think of anything during the interview that you are superstitious about, let us know.
Okay.
Okay.
I will.
I am Laura Cathcart Robbins, and this is the only one in the room, but I'm never the only one in this room because, as usual, my boyfriend, producer, and co-host, Scott Slaughter, who I call Hun, is here as well.
Hi, honey.
Hey, honey. So, like I said, love that smile. If you're watching, if you're listening to us, please watch the YouTube so you can see LaNisa's smile. It's great. LaNisa Williams is a Los Angeles native, daughter of 2 felons, and co-owner and CEO of Barista Life LA, which is the hat that I'm currently coveting, and that she's promised to get it to me. You heard it on this recording. Hopefully by the time you've heard it, I will have a hat.
Yes.
And welcome to the show. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
Before we start, you're welcome to tell us how you identify if you want.
She, her.
Okay.
Yes.
The She, Her series.
Yeah.
Yeah. You and I met at Blackbird,
We did.
which is Bridget Coulter Cheadle's workspace, community space,
Yes.
by and for women of color,
Mm-hmm.
but also allies.
Yes.
We're in Los Angeles as we record this, so is Blackbird House.
Mm-hmm.
How are you affiliated with it? How did you hear about it?
One of my friends actually works there.
Okay.
And I had already seen like the posts and stuff like that. I was following Instagram, and I was like, it's like a dope place to go to.
Okay.
And then I got invited, and I walked in, and I was like, ooh,
It's
is nice.
It's what you, yeah.
Yeah, it is what I expected.
Same.
Yes.
Same, me too. It's really beautiful. We did an interview with Bridget, so if you're listening to this, you should go back and listen to that. But LaNisa was there live in the audience.
I was.
And you and I ended up talking, and I invited you to come on to the show because I was so stunned
Yes.
by your story.
Yes.
Stunned. So let's start with slinging Legos on the side.
Yeah.
Okay, so tell me about that. Tell me like where you were and then how that happened and what I thought this was a term for something that I was like unhip about, but you'll hear, she'll say. So tell us.
So I was a manager at the Lego store in the Glendale Galleria.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, I was doing well in the sense of like I was a manager. But for me, it came to a point I just kept on getting overlooked for things. So I took my own initiative to repay myself.
Yes. You're like, well, I'll compensate me.
Yes.
Yes.
But I also was in the midst of like, I was living in a 1-bedroom apartment with my partner at the time, but I also had my godson, his mom, and his grandmother at my house.
Wow.
And I was
in a 1-bedroom.
In a 1-bedroom. And I was the only one working, and I just needed another way to get money, and I didn't want to sell drugs, or I didn't want to have to go back to doing that.
Right.
So I slung Legos on the slide.
You slung Legos.
I did.
Do you like Legos?
I do.
Yeah.
Like as a kid, so I have 5 sisters, and girls play with Barbie dolls and all that kind of stuff, and I was not into that. And I would beg my mom for Legos, and she was like, "Oh, they're boys, they're for boys," and I'm just like, "No, but they're just fun. Like, I just want to be creative." And yeah, in 5th grade, I got my first Lego set, which was the pirate, and it was because I was doing a diagram for a school project, and I got the set, and it was a little small one with like a little treasure. It was just like blew my mind. It was like Polly Pocket, but for me,
Right.
you know,
Right. Yes.
and yeah, I just fell in love with them.
And so this was kind of a dream come true then.
It was.
Working at the Lego store.
Yeah, when I got the job, I was actually living in Atlanta, and I started working at the store that's in Atlanta, and then I transferred back to California. But it was just like I get to play with Legos all day. I mean, of course, it's a retail store, and I'm selling Legos, but you get to build all those sets that are inside the display.
Yeah. So that's just fun.
Yes. Yeah.
So you were supplementing your income.
I was.
And you were working as a manager.
Yeah.
At the Lego store. So, what happened? Why? How did it happen that you got caught during that?
So I had been slinging Legos on the side for about, I don't know, a year or so, and at the time,
I'm sorry. Who are your customers?
I know. I have some questions over here. I'm like biting my tongue. Like, how does Slinging Legos on the side work, and how do you find people?
So
who
you have
want
to
them?
remember that like Legoland just opened up in
Right.
Carlsbad.
Yeah.
They giving us free tickets to give to people. I was able to. I'm not gonna say lure people in, but like that was a benefit from working there that I had free tickets. I could get you a discount on your set. Because I was in Glendale, I definitely had a lot of famous people come inside and buy Legos for their kids. I've met the game a couple times. Donald Faison actually worked on the stop motion, doing voiceovers for him. Like there was just
You had access.
Yeah, Al Pacino, but they weren't like the ones that needed discounts. Of course, they didn't.
Yeah.
But it would
I
be
hope not.
it would be the parents that come in on. So it's like once a month on the Tuesday they would do a free build, and it would be like 45 pieces for the kids to build, but they could take it home. It'd be those parents that I would be like, look, I can give you a discount on this because I know.
Right.
Like my 50%.
It's a discount.
Yeah.
It's a 5-finger discount.
Yeah, my 50% off is going to help. You can get 3 toys now for your kid.
Right.
Like, that's how it started off. And then they were like, there are retailers or resellers that would sell them in China. So they would just go, they would buy them in bulk and then resell them. And those were my main, like,
Okay.
I got the cash, what you got?
Right.
And they would pay me like, right on the spot, and I delivered the product.
Like how much?
I mean,
We're gonna get stuck on this.
I know. We're already stuck on it.
Like, it ranged from like 1,500 to like 4,000 at one time.
Oh damn!
Damn.
I was out of the
Legos?
ballpark.
I mean,
Yeah.
a Death Star was coveted. Like that's a set for $500. If you could get that and resell that over in a different country, like
Right,
you'd have
right.
tripled, quadrupled your profit. Damn. Yeah.
All right. Okay. So then let's move forward. Tell me how that ended. How you got caught.
So I actually went on vacation to Hawaii.
With the money that you.
Yeah. It was
Your supplemental money.
It was a supplemental, and it was a
Yeah.
birthday or / anniversary gift for my partner at the time. So we went to Hawaii for 7 days, and when I got back, I didn't know that the cameras were working because the mall was in the midst of being remodeled for like a whole year, and none of the cameras worked. So that's how I kind of got away with that
Right.
on the back end. But I didn't do my my homework. I didn't check in with the security because we was talking, and I didn't do what I was supposed to do basically, and they just caught my tattoos on camera, which led to me being arrested like 2 days after I came back from vacation, or 3 days, yeah, and then I the police come, lock me up, make me walk through the mall in handcuffs.
Oh, they showed up at your job.
Yeah.
Shame.
I was on shift.
Damn.
And
That's
I was working.
Oh, wow.
And they show up. Mind you, there is a police station inside the mall, so that's who got me. And I already know who they are, but I just, And they walked me through the mall handcuffed, and then put me in the car, or put me in the waiting, and then put me in the car, and we drove down to the Glendale police department, and they were just like, oh, so we have this much information. Do you want to talk to us about it? And I was like, nah, I'm cool. Like, I don't have anything to say. But so there was a gentleman that I could say in partnership with, because he was the biggest client of mine. So they caught his license plate and then got out and went after him, and then he just decided to just
tell
spill
them everything. Wow.
Yeah.
Without letting you know, of course.
Yeah. Well, he was already arrested, and so they were interrogating him. So, I mean, the first thing he did was, make sure that he was good, and he just, ratted me completely out. And I was just like, all right, well, if that's what y'all have, then, I can't. If you say you have whatever you have it. But they ended up letting me. I got bailed out. And
what did they charge you with?
They charged me with embezzlement, theft, and robbery.
Okay.
And then my partner bailed me out, and I went home, and I had to figure this out. But I ended up applying to Pete's Coffee the next day, and I got the job.
Right.
Yes.
Which is how we get into coffee.
Yes.
But
the second part of coffee.
The second part of coffee. So you were charged with these. These are big charges.
Yes. And it wasn't my first time. So they were like add-on charges.
Okay. What were the other charges that you had before?
I had embezzlement and theft for my first charges. And then, so now this is a second embezzlement, theft, and then they tacked on robbery. And
robbery is usually a weappen.
Right.
You didn't have a weapon.
They just decided.
A Lego gun.
Right.
Death Star gun.
I built it.
Right.
The lightsaber.
But why? How can they add that? Do you know?
I honestly, I never really looked into.
Yeah, because it's usually in person with a weapon.
Yeah,
and then that's a robbery charge. Okay, so this was your second one of these charges.
Yes.
Had you done time for the first one?
Yes.
Okay, what kind of time did you do?
So it was not a slap on the wrist, but they gave me 180 days, which was 6 months, for the first embezzlement and theft charge.
And where did you do that?
Linwood.
Linwood. Okay. All right. So now you're looking at a second case, and are you scared? Are you thinking you're going to get something similar? Like time, sentence wise?
I mean, yeah, I was scared. In the sense of I'm about to be pulled away from my entire family, and I'm the breadwinner right now. And
everybody's still there in your place.
Yes.
Needing to be taken care of.
Yes.
So you go to Pete's.
Yeah. So I immediately was like, I need to have another job. That's just me.
Yeah.
So I applied at Pete's. I went in
Pete's
for
Coffee.
Pete's Coffee.
Yes.
Went in for the interview. It was an in-person interview. Slam dunk. Got the job. They hired me basically on the spot. And
what did you tell them? Why was it a slam dunk? I can see because you're like this bright light. But did you tell them you loved coffee?
Yeah, I had already worked for Starbucks.
Okay.
In 2004, I started at Starbucks at 3rd and Pennsylvania when I lived in D.C. So I already knew something about coffee.
Yeah.
And I was just myself, and I was just like, look, I'm passionate about anything that I I put my mind to. I'm a hard worker. And I was like, you won't regret hiring me. You won't.
Yeah.
And I mean, they could have been desperately in need of people. So they were like, all right, let's just get her.
Right.
But I feel like I did my thing and I got hired.
That's great.
And yeah, I started working at Pete's Coffee.
But there's a ticking clock, right?
Yeah.
Because you're facing these charges and you might go away.
Right.
You didn't tell them that part.
No, I did not.
Okay.
No.
Right. So
by the way, I just got out of jail.
Right.
No.
But you won't regret hiring me.
Right.
I promise.
That's good, hon. So you got this job, and do you like it? Do you like working at Pete's?
I mean, I started at the bottom. I was just in the beginning, I was unloading boxes from the delivery. I was doing the cashier. I had to work my way up to touching the espresso bar and doing all those things at the time that I thought were amazing. Mm-hmm. They still are. But yeah, I did. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the atmosphere. I enjoyed I actually enjoyed the manager, and I enjoyed Yeah, I really enjoy. I think I definitely have a servant's heart. So for me to be able to serve people coffee is why I enjoyed it so much when I worked at Starbucks, and I felt like I fell right back into that. But at Pete's, I was able to get like the coffee knowledge that Starbucks doesn't provide. So
Yeah, that's Starbucks.
I'm all pizza always. Anyway,
Provide your employees with knowledge.
I mean, they do, but it's like the bare minimum. Like Pete's actually allowed me to do a cupping, and I didn't know what a cupping was until.
What is it?
It's when you're tasting coffee in its purest form. Like you can taste the actual flavor notes, or being able to identify flavor notes that appeal to you.
Okay.
And doing tea and diving into that and learning what a French press and a Chemex and just doing things like that I had never experienced, and that's all part of the beginning of the training. So that's what really like lured me in. Like, this is dope. Like, you could you taste chocolate, but I don't taste that. I taste raspberries, and the fact that there were so many different components to coffee allows my mind to wander, and that's when I think I find the most my most creativity stuff bubbles up.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah.
You said you have a servant's heart.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
We're going to come back to that.
Okay.
So, but 8 months later, you were convicted.
Yeah. I just worked the whole time. I did felt comfortable after a while to speak to my manager, and I did disclose look, this is what I'm dealing with right now. So there is, because I did have to go to court every month. So there was the days that I needed to have off, and they're like, well, why do you need this off? And I'm just like, it was personal.
Right.
Yeah. But
you're allowed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I got to a point and I was just like, look, I'm gonna let you know, I am fighting the case right now. I don't know what's gonna happen. I could go away for 5 years. I could go away for a year. I'm in the midst of this. And yeah, it finally came down to, they were offering me a couple different deals, and I took the one that I felt was best for me.
Which was?
Basically was 365 days, and I still left with, I still walked out with all the charges still. Okay. But that was better than going down with strikes. It was better than the other offer that I can't even remember everything, but the other offer that was for me was the best one because it allowed me to, because I got categorized as an AB 109, which allowed me to do my time in the county
instead of going to prison.
Instead of going, yeah. So that was hope for me, because I was like, oh, okay, because now maybe my mom can come visit, or my family can still I can still see them and stuff like that. So yeah, I took that deal.
Well, one of the things I was struck by, not when we talked at Blackbird, but when we talked via Zoom, right? Was how important your family is to you.
Yes.
It was when you got emotional.
Yes.
When you were talking about their importance in your life. It was the first thing you started with, was that you had this family at home, and so you needed to supplement your income so that you could take care of them. Yeah. You said you have a servant's heart. I love that. So you're in county.
Yes.
Doing that time, and you told me that your Bunkee stole your food.
Yes. So yeah. So while I was in I was in Linwood at the time, because I did move around quite a bit. But I was in Linwood at the time, and I did have a Bunkee, and I had money being put on my books so that I could survive and not have to eat the food that was there. So I definitely, my little snacks were like hot Cheetos and sunflower seeds. Yes. That was what I ate to pass time.
Treasure those things.
Yes, I
right?
did. Because a bag of hot Cheetos in the streets was $1.25, and there was $5.50. And I'm just like, you can't just be eating.
Right.
You just can't just dig in people's stuff.
No.
But yeah, I would go to class every day, and just to pass time, listen, get some education just while I'm there. And I would go up to my room, and my Cheeto bag would be crumbled differently, and I know how I folded it. And then there'd be sunflower, the poly seeds, the shells on the floor, and I'm not throwing them on the floor. So I just, I told her like the first time, like, bro, like if you want something, like I can make sure you can get it. You don't have to steal. Like we can make something happen. And it happened again, and we got into a confrontation, and one of us stayed in the room, and the other one didn't.
Which one stayed in the room?
I did.
You did. Okay. So you got her removed.
She did. She definitely had to be removed.
Okay.
And in that, the whole scuffle, I did walk away with a black eye. But I had already talked to the CEO about the situation, so she already knew where I was coming from. And I'm not saying there's favoritism or anything, but like I was like, something's gonna happen if you guys don't step in. And then it led to something happening. And then she ended up being removed from my room. And like the next, like 2 days later was like Mother's Day. And my mom surprised me and came to see me. And then like as she walks in, all she sees is me with a black eye.
Yeah.
And she immediately breaks down. And for me, that was just like, damn, like I ain't let her down, And for me, that was like the epic point for me to be like, we got to figure out something, LaNisa. Like, 'cause this ain't it.
Right.
I can't keep on. This ain't panning out. Like, this is not the way that I want to be remembered.
Yeah.
Your
mom's single mom?
Yes.
Raised
Five.
Five of you.
Yes.
5 girls.
Yeah.
So, and then, for anyone who's ever gone to see anybody when they're locked up, it's not easy.
No.
It's a drive, it's a wait, it's getting documents checked, it's waiting somewhere else. It's a whole day.
Yeah.
It's scary.
Yeah.
It can be scary. So mom was there.
She was. And I mean,
on
my mom,
Mother's Day.
On Mother's Day. And I had been trying to call her, like, just, checking up on her, make sure my once a week call, but she wasn't answering. And I was like, dang. But they called me, and they're like, you got a visitor. And she walked in, and like I said, she saw me, and we just both broke down, and I was just like I'm sorry, because I know she didn't raise me this way. My mom has her past of, she was a gang member. Both my parents were. They've both been to prison. Like, but that's, like, I had to be the one to be, like, we got to break this chain.
Yeah.
Like,
were you a gang member as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So we had I had to figure something out, because this is not how, I didn't want to be remembered like this. So
that was would you say that's your moment of clarity?
Yeah, it was.
So then you ended up doing something really interesting, which was going to, like, was it a rehab or a transition? Yes. So tell me about that.
Yeah, so the CEO that broke up the fight and stuff like that pulled me to the side and was like, LaNisa, this doesn't look like you need to be here. And I'm like, I don't. Like, I was out here just trying to survive and make sure my family was straight. I definitely went about it the wrong way. But that was the whole intention.
Right.
So they're like, all right, we're going to sign you up for this program, and we'll see, if we can get you out of this, these 4 walls, basically. And I was like, cool. And I did the interview. I didn't know it was for, like, a actual, like, rehab place.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, do you need drugs or anything? I'm like, nah, just, I smoke weed. And they're just like, all right, we're just going to write that down. And I'm just like, cool. So I got called, and I got picked for this program, which was I was the first person to be chosen for this program, which allowed me to go to this rehab place and be outside, but I had to wear an ankle monitor. And the reason why I was like, oh yeah, I want to do this, because they're like, well, we'll cut off your time. And I'm just like, okay,
yeah,
just do this and I can get out early. And I was like, cool. So I did the program, and then it was cool. My family was able to come visit me. I had my birthday there.
Which birthday?
33, 34.
Okay.
One of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe earlier. I don't even know how old
Somewhere
I am.
in the early 30s.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So you celebrated a birthday there.
I did. And
were you happy to be there? I mean, not relatively.
Right.
I mean, as opposed to where you were.
Yes,
Okay.
I was, and the food was way better. I was outside. We had to go to class and AA and all that kind of stuff, but I was able to be outside. my family was able to come see me. We could sit at a table like we're doing right now and talk and touch. Like I was able to do all that.
Yeah.
So that in that part, yeah, I did. I could take regular showers.
Right? That's a big deal.
Yeah. The only thing that sucked was like my ankle monitor had to be plugged up every night, and then sometimes like the satellite would be off, so they were like, "Oh, it looks like you're in Lancaster right now," or "It looks like you're in Anaheim." I'm like, "What?"
No.
And they'd wake me up at 1:00 in the morning, have me walk down to the office, jump on
Because they're calling.
Yeah, they're calling like, "Hey, where's LaNisa?" And I'm just like, "I'm right here. Like,
Right,
there's nowhere I'm gonna go, and not in this wilderness."
Where were you?
In the middle of like Acton.
You know where that is, then?
On your way to Lancaster.
I don't. I can only
Okay, on the way to
imagine.
Lancaster,
I've
I know
heard of
that.
it.
Yeah. So the other really interesting thing to me was, I don't know if you know, Scott and I are both sober. We've been sober.
Nice.
I just celebrated 14 years.
Woo!
And you said that you were kind of like resentful at the whole, like, because you're not an addict,
right?
And being, or an alcoholic, and then being in these meetings,
yeah.
But then you said that there was a turning point for you. It was kind of a spiritual experience.
Yeah, like the stuff that they were teaching. Yeah, if you're in there, if you're not listening to what is actually being said, yes, you're gonna think this is boring. It's not for me. I'm not an addict, but being an addict doesn't mean that I'm. Like, I don't feel like it means I was addicted to drugs or anything. I was addicted to the fast life. I was addicted to making money, addicted to pleasing others.
Yeah.
Like, these were attributes that I could recognize and find a way to fix it or, to change. But yeah, just like knowing the prayer and just like things like that, like knowing that you aren't in control over everything, and just surrendering yourself to your higher power. And that's what I learned. And I had to while I was there, I had a counselor who, like, we met once a week, we talked all the time, but she had me like write a letter to my younger self, because that's what I needed to let go. Like, and forgive myself for certain things that I had no control over as a kid. Yeah. And
take your time.
I was able to look those things in the face and be like it wasn't my fault. Like I just had to be able to come to grips with that and bring those things to the surface for me to want to let go of the past and be okay with just walking in my truth and finding my purpose, and that's what that whole year away I was able to just kind of figure out what LaNisa wanted to do with her life, or how do you want to be remembered. What is it, something that you are good at, that you love, and like you could see yourself doing for the rest of your life. And everything always came back to like I love the coffee industry. Yeah. And all I knew was what at that time was they weren't a lot of people that looked like me, and how do we change that? And 3 days before I was being released, I called my job or my old manager, and I was like, "Hey, I'm about to be back in town.
Vacation's over." Right,
vacation's over. And I was like, "If there are any spots, like, I'd love to come back and get my job back." And they're like, "Cool, come back in." I got out on a Sunday. Monday, I was in the office filling out paperwork. I was on a schedule for Wednesday, and I ain't looked back since then. Yeah.
I mean, what a really, I want to say crazy, but it's not crazy, but just like a really interesting thing, like all the things in the world, for you to realize in that moment that you love coffee.
Yeah.
And that this is the thing that you want to head toward. Yes. and do more with. Okay, so you're back at Pete's.
Yes.
And you are kind of head down doing your work again, right?
Yeah.
There's a story that I love about the bathroom, and there's a anyway, tell me you know what story I'm talking about. So tell me that story.
It was like district cleaning, like the big boss was coming and all the stores are making sure that we're up to par and they walk in and it looks good and stuff like that. So one of the store managers from another shop comes in our store, and she's like doing the little checklist to make sure that we're all good. And she happens to go into the bathroom, and right before she went in there, a customer, excuse me, went inside there and decided to use the bathroom, and it's like all on the floor. And
so you just literally use the bathroom and not the toilet.
Yes.
Okay.
In that area I was in, there were some homeless people, and that was
what happens sometimes.
That's what happens sometimes. And so she came out and she was like, guys, like somebody needs to go in there and go clean that bathroom. And like everyone just like looks around and tries to look busy.
Yeah. I know that.
And I was just like, I got it. Like, it's cool. Like, I'll go in there and go clean it up. So I just like jumped right to it and mopped it up, cleaned it up. And then at the end, she was just like, you're dope. And she's like, I need you on my team.
Okay.
And she was like, I'm gonna talk to my district manager. I need you at my store. And my manager at the time was like slid in, was like, nah, like we trying to promote her over here. And I was just like, oh, are we?
Are we? Yes. Now that there's interest from the
right.
outside.
Now that
right?
someone else noticed me. Now,
yes.
Yeah. So, but that's what jump started my promotion to get to shift lead. And then being a shift lead, that allowed me.
What does shift lead mean?
Basically, you have a set of keys, you have the safe, and you're the one in charge of. Yeah. In charge of like the shift of the day. The manager's still there. The assistant is probably still there. The staff is there, but you're running the entire shift while the management can like take care of whatever they have to, paperwork, interviews, whatever they have to in the back. And for me, at the beginning, I was hesitant on it because I was like, am I ready for that type of responsibility? Because I know the last time I got keys and I had money, things didn't work out.
Right.
And I had to trust myself and be like, we're on a different path. That's not an option for me to take advantage of a job that they didn't have to hire me back. Like from going, of course they didn't know initially that I was in jail, but they didn't have to give me that opportunity to come back. So I did that. I was the shift lead, and I just worked real hard, and I take pride in what I do. But I used that time to just absorb as much as I could, so that when there was another position open, I was able to be like, I'm confident enough to say that I'm ready to take it to the next level. So within the year, 6 months, I got promoted again.
Wow. And
this time it was assistant manager. And what happens with that is like they have to do a background check on you.
Right. So this is the first one.
Yes.
And so what were you thinking?
I was nervous. I didn't want to take it. And I knew like once you read once they did a background, they're going to they'll see all my mug shots. They'll see the felonies that are on there, and they may be like, "Oh, we're gonna have to let you go completely."
Right.
So that was what my thought was, and I was like, "I can't go out like that." So, I talked to my district manager, and I told her, I was like, "Look, I definitely want this position. I could definitely use this extra money, but I do have a past." And once you guys do my whole background, y'all gonna see A, B, C, and D. And I just want to let you know ahead of time, so there's no surprises or anything like that. But if you give me this opportunity, like I'm not gonna let you down. That is in the past. And she was like, all right, like I appreciate you coming and telling, because that probably would have looked bad on me if I went to the next level and presented this person's awesome whoop whoop, and then they do a background check and they see all that. Yeah. So the next day she called me and was like, hey, LaNisa, to let you know you got that job.
Wow.
And I was like, what? And I was like, even though y'all
go Pete's.
Right? They're like, I was just like, even with the felony, there's like, because like we appreciate that you came and told us ahead of time, and that just showed like integrity. That showed that you valued who you were, even though you do have a past. But like I had enough respect to do that. And so I just continued to work, and that's when I learned how to do like latte art and knowing the meaning of certain things. And then the position for a district trainer came up, and I was like, ooh, that's something that I really wanted to do. And that job allowed me I was still assistant, I was still working at the shops, but that it allowed me to step out of the shops every now and then to go train at all the different locations,
Right.
to train any new hires in our district. They had to get barista certification through me. They had to do, anytime there was new coffee or new drinks, I had to make sure that everyone knew how to make them and stuff like that. They knew the little spiel to go along with it and all that. And I love that.
Yeah.
I love that responsibility.
Did you work at all the Pete's?
I
then?
did. At one point,
How many are there?
at the time, there were 13 Pete's.
Okay.
I know like one or two have closed since then. But I worked at every single one of them.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Were you going to say something?
No.
Okay.
I was going to say maybe we bought coffee from
Yeah.
LaNisa at
It's
some point.
possible.
It's possible.
It's
It
possible.
is.
So
it is.
you, and I feel like I had a really similar story. Not at all to anything you've described. But I hit a ceiling where I was, and I realized that I wasn't going to be able to be what I wanted to be in that company, and I started my own. So tell me about your experience with that.
So being ambitious, I was kept on this trying to get to the next level, and store manager came up, and I was like, "Ooh, I need this." Like I was learning everything. Like I was running some of these stores because managers were dropping left and right, and I was learning how to do. I did all the payroll. I did everything that a manager was doing, but I wasn't getting the title or the respect. A position came, I applied for it. They were like, "All right, LaNisa, you're up next." Yada yada, and I'm like, "Cool." Day before, "Oh, so we had to give it to somebody else," and I'm just like, "All right, cool." Like maybe there's just something that I'm not ready for. This is just not my time, and I'll let it go, and I just kept on working. Another, I'm gonna say 6 to 8 months went by. Another position came up, and the same thing happened again, and I was just like,
Right. You're sensing a pattern.
Yeah, and there's no one that looks like me, and there were just times that I've had conversations with my district manager, and I was just like, yeah, y'all don't even see us, like, at all.
Right.
So, I met a young lady who helped me start my business in the sense of she took me down to the courthouse to fill out all my paperwork, DBA, like all that kind of stuff, because that's her business.
So at this point, you've been like, okay, they're not going to promote me.
Yes.
Because there is no one who looks like me.
There isn't.
And I'm the most qualified, but
And
they keep bringing in other people.
Yes.
Right? So you and her go back and forth, da-da-da-da. I'll help you, she says. So you go do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like even I was still at Pete's Coffee when I filed my paperwork for my business. And I brought it up to my district manager. I was like, is this a conflict of interest? Because
Look at you
I'm
being all honest.
I want to make sure I'm not here stepping in nobody's toes. Like I ain't trying to get sued by no company. Like
Right.
But like we had it all squared away and stuff like that. And I was just posting stuff that I was making at Pete's Coffee. Like those are my first few posts on Instagram. Yeah. And then it just got to a point. It was just like, it's just they're not valuing what you bring to the table. And I just branched off, and I was like, we're gonna launch Barista Life LA as like a full service, and that's what I did. And I was scared, nervous. I had just entered into like a new relationship, so it's like I'm depending on this young lady to kind of carry me, which she did an amazing job and was like, I got you. And for the first time, that I had never had nobody to be like,
that's the first time,
that was the first time like
Yeah.
I could breathe. I always felt like I was not drowning, but like I can't come up
Treading
for
water. Yeah.
I can't come up for air because I got ABC, I got this, I got family, I got all this. But she was able to help take that burden off. And with that little 3 to 6 months that I was able to do that, that's how Barista Life LA was born.
That's
and
quick.
all these ideas. I mean, I have ideas every day, but like the beginning of it and within like the first month, I got my first.
When was this that
This
you
was
launched?
in 2019.
Okay.
Right before like pandemic.
Right. Yes. You're like, okay,
Yeah.
I'm open.
Man. And
And the world's closed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was like summer of 2019.
Okay, that was good.
Yeah,
Summer was good.
I got my first client, which is Vanessa from LA Grind Coffee and Tea. She has a mobile coffee truck, and she was like, "LaNisa, I don't know anything about it," and I'm like, "Cool, well I do."
Right. So explain what you do at Barista Life. What do you do?
We do a multiple of things, but the reason why I created the Barista Life LA is to create a space for any and everybody who wants to know about coffee. Being inside corporations, there's a lot of gatekeeping, and just not even in corporations, just in the coffee industry as well. Like I would ask for help for stuff, and people are like, "Nah, like we don't want you to know this." So I just wanted to create a space where any and everybody can learn about coffee. This is the second most consumed product in the world. This is what connects 99.9% of the people in this entire world.
Right.
And for us to not be able to make a fire cup of coffee at home just because we want you to go to Starbucks or we want you to go to wherever it else didn't make any sense to me. So yeah, but we do consulting. We curate menus. We help you open up your coffee shop, plug you into the right distributors, make sure you have the right equipment.
Show you how to use the equipment.
How to use the equipment. We train multiple coffee shops out here. We train your staff. I do individual home like barista skills. If you just want to perfect a way to make a French press at home, or you want your coffee to taste as good as it does
in the shop
or better,
right?
Than the shop, then I'll come to you and I'll show you like the tricks and tips that I use to do what I do. Yeah.
Well, it's 96% of the world, you said, is connected by coffee. Coffee's huge in the recovery community.
Yes.
Because we don't drink.
Right.
Everybody meets for coffee.
Everybody meets for coffee.
Right, hon? It's
absolutely, yeah. It's our social tool.
Yeah.
You know?
And you are, once again, you are serving.
Yes. I find so much
Yes.
joy in it. Like, I don't know how to explain like just the feelings that I get when people like, oh, they sip my coffee and they say this is amazing, or when they learn how to do a heart for the first time so they can show their wife. Like, I just think that it's just dope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. Tell me about bringing in more people of color to coffee.
So I launched a platform on Instagram called Black and Brew, and it was just the objective of it was for me just to highlight baristas that I knew in LA, and I didn't feel like they got enough spotlight. Like I wasn't anybody, big or anything like that, but I was like, that's crazy that like I don't see us on display. Like Coffee Fest, didn't see nobody that looked like me, and I'm just like, well, this stuff comes from Africa, and we not even taking pride in what we got. So, I launched Black and Brew. Me and my partner were sitting, or at the time, we were sitting just talking and like, how can I like put people on a pedestal or put Black people in coffee, give them a spotlight. And so all I did was I just did interviews. It went from baristas that I knew in LA, but to baristas that are globally, Africa, like everywhere. And it was just to let them know that they are being seen, and that there is someone out here that looks like them that are pretty much going for the same goals, like just to enjoy coffee and to spread the love about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you met anyone who is as passionate about coffee as you are?
I mean, I think so. I
I haven't. Have you, hon?
I don't think I met him personally, but I'm sure there are people like you feel at home when you're around people like yourself. Yeah.
I went to the first ever Color of Coffee Collective Symposium that was in Texas, and it was a coffee convention for Black people.
Wow.
And that's purely what it was.
How many folks do you think were there around?
It was good, like I'm gonna say like 200,
Yeah.
but it was like more. It was the amount of individual Black-owned coffee companies that I saw, and these are people that I had been following from the whole pandemic. They had been following. We've been talking. I've been seeing them put in that work, and being able to to meet them in person was like the highlight of my year.
Yeah.
At that point, I mean, I know we still in this, but it was just dope to know that there are people look like me, who
Yeah.
are out there, who are doing their thing. They could also be the only ones in the room where they're at. But when we got together,
It was a whole room full of you.
oh man,
That's so cool.
yeah, it was lit.
We interviewed this woman named Ariel D. Smith, she has a podcast called Black Food Truck Scholar. And it was the same for her. She would follow all these black food trucks. And then when now she interviews them. But
Yeah.
she went to like a gathering of them, and she's like, "Hey,
Yeah.
and your turkey legs,
Yeah.
and your ribs."
Yeah, that's
Like,
how I felt when I went. I
yeah.
was like, "Oh, it's you."
Yeah,
And then they're just like,
yeah.
"LaNisa, it's you." And I'm just like, I'm just doing my thing like everybody else.
Ah, that's so
But
cool.
it was just really encouraging to see, and it was just black excellence, and I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we're dope.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
We are.
What's next for you?
A lot of stuff.
Give me a couple.
So Barista Life LA. I'm not sure if it's Barista Life LA or Hustlers Cup, because Hustlers Cup is the actual coffee shop. But we're going to be dropping some beans soon. New merch is coming out. I'm just trying to scale it to the next level in the sense of just bringing more awareness to the Black coffee community. There's so many dope things right now that are happening in the community, from like Coffee Black and Bartholomew going to Africa. Like that's the biggest thing for me is next year is for me to go on these origins trip where I can go back to Colombia. I can go to Mexico. I can go to Africa, Rwanda, Ethiopia. I want to see it. I want to pick cherries.
Yeah.
I do. I really like. I think. I don't know.
I love that for you.
I don't even know how to express it, but like I think that's one of the dopest things is to be able to go to the motherland and pick cherries. And like I don't think people realize like the effort and the time and the attention that it is in order for us to get that cup of coffee that we sit down every morning and drink.
When you say pick cherries, is that cherries or
Yeah.
Oh,
actual
cherries?
Yeah, so actually the coffee cherry tree. You just pick them. You can squeeze them open, and there's the actual
bean.
coffee seed inside. Yeah, and then from there it gets cleaned or however the process is, and then it gets shipped over here, and it comes in green. It looks ashy, and it smells like ash. Not ash, but it smells like like dirt. And then we roast it.
Nice.
Yeah.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
So, two things.
Yes.
I want to know where people can find you, and do you still play with Legos?
You can find me. My Instagram is Barista Life LA. I do have a website, which is baristalifelA.com.
There's a lot of info on that website.
There is.
Yes.
Yeah, that's pretty much where you can find me.
Okay.
For my social, I mean, I have a Facebook. Barista Life LA has one. But yeah,
Okay.
and yes, I do still play with Legos. I have quite a few collectible sets.
It's a good gift for you.
Yeah, I just recently bought a set for my nephew. He's a huge Lego fan too. He just moved back from Paris.
Nice.
And so I went to go see them in their new house in San Diego and brought him a Lego set, and he was just like, "Oh my gosh!" And I was like, "Gotcha."
You know your Legos.
Yes.
You know your coffee.
I do.
Thank you.
Thank you.
LaNisa. This is great.
It was.
Yeah.
I had
Good
an awesome
I knew it was going to
time.
be a good conversation. Yeah.
Thank you.
I'm gonna go get a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yep. I'll make you one. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it.
I am LaNisa Williams. I am the only one explaining how coffee saved my life.